Hello, I believe we're live. I think we're live. I never quite know whether the moment you press live, whether it's like instant or whether there's a bit of a delay, but I'm going to assume that we are live. Hello everyone and welcome to the episode 3, House of the Dragon episode 3 prediction live stream. Today we, as we do at the same time every single Sunday, we're going to be predicting the next episode of House of the Dragon, which is going to come out in a few hours. As with all my other live streams, I will say this is a spoiler stream, which is to say it's for those who have read book spoilers, drawing on things and characters and so on that happen in the books, as well as what we can glean from trailers and so on. Specifically, we'll be looking at the stills from episode 3 in the trailer for episode 3. So if you're not interested in spoilers, be gone. Shoo, go away. If you want spoiler-free breakdowns of House of the Dragon episodes, every Monday I do a live stream with the one, the only Quinn the GM, either on my channel or his channel. We take it in turns, we alternate, and that's spoiler-free. But this will be spoilery, just throwing it out there, because of course I don't want anyone to be accidentally spoiled. So before we begin and we go through all the fun little promo pics and trailer shots, I'll say a couple things. First, thanks for coming. Get ready. This is going to be the best live stream you've ever watched today, if not in your entire life. And secondly, if you want to send in a cheeky super chat, go ahead. It really does help support the channel, because at the end of the day, this is my job. So it genuinely pays the rent and bills, and I'm absurdly grateful. But yeah, if you have any questions or statements or theories or anything, feel free to send in a super chat. Or you can send me a Streamlabs donation. So this is the same thing that Shift X has. In my description, I have a Streamlabs link, and you can click on it, and you can send in a donation. The thing with a super chat is that YouTube takes a big cut of it, but with a Streamlabs donation, I receive 100% of it. So you know that all the money intended for me is going for me and isn't sort of being snatched up by YouTube unfairly. Or you can just watch the live stream and do whatever you want to do. So I think it's time to stop beating around the bush, and I'll try not to be Boomer this time round, right? I'll try not to be the... I'm the late Lord Haven, but I'm slowly becoming the Boomer Lord Haven, because I keep trying to get this Canva slideshow to work, and it's very slow. Or I'm doing the wrong thing. More likely I'm doing the wrong thing. But first up, we'll be looking at some stills from Harrenhal. But before we do that, we already have a super chat. Hello, thank you for the super chat from Canadian Boy Cole. Thank you, you're a legend, who says, Happy Canada Day. It's tomorrow. Is tomorrow Canada Day? Is that a thing? I've never heard of Canada Day. That sounds pretty awesome, though. Let me look that up. I don't trust you. I don't trust you, you Canadian. Canada Day is, of course, July 1st. Cool. Canada Day is tomorrow. Well, happy Canada Day for tomorrow. That's awesome, and thank you so much for the super chat. Okay, so the Curse of Harrenhal. Let's begin. So we know last episode Daemon just yeeted, right? He just disappeared. He got into a big argument with Rhaenyra. He hopped on the spicy noodle itself, Caraxes, and he flew away. Where to? Well, Harrenhal. He's constantly been, since the finale of last season, and in episode 1, episode 2, he keeps talking about raising an army at Harrenhal. But why? Aemond says the same thing. If you remember, the Green Council. In episode 1, Aemond talks about Harrenhal being a toehold into the Riverlands. And this is why. Lord Tully has not declared for anyone, right? Aegon calls him Fat Old Lord Tully. He's Grover Tully. He has not declared for the Greens or the Blacks. Rhaenyra says that Lord Tully was a friend of Viserys, and therefore will probably support Rhaenyra. However, Otto Hightower refers to Riverrun, the castle of House Tully. He refers to it as an ally. Oh, I just smacked my desk with my finger. Ow. In episode 9 of season 1, right? In the Green Council during the coup, Otto says, we've sent letters to our allies in Highgarden, Castle Rock, and he says Riverrun. So both the Greens and the Blacks seem to be under the impression that the Tullys could be on their side, and yet they haven't declared for anyone. And of course, but again, I will stress, this is a spoiler live stream, it's in the title. we know that Lord Grover Tully doesn't actually like Team Black, right? He supports Aegon to be king, but his grandson, Lord Elmo, and no, I will never despise the names, but I will never not despise the name, sorry. But his grandson, Lord Elmo, Sir Elmo, is like, no, I prefer Rhaenyra. So they're basically waiting for their grandfather to die so that they can raise an army in Rhaenyra's stead, but in the meantime, what they can do is kind of block their grandfather's orders and stop him from officially declaring, right? They could go all kind of different directions in the show, I'm not necessarily sure. But what we know is that currently House Tully has not declared for anyone, and so the Riverlands is anyone's game. And it's extremely important strategically, because it borders the North and the Vale, which have declared for Rhaenyra, but it also borders the Westerlands, which have declared for Aegon, and it borders the Crownlands, and the Crownlands are split between Aegon and Rhaenyra. So Harrenhal is the largest castle in the Riverlands, right? So, and it's huge, the monument to Harren the Black's hubris, right? It's this massive, twisted, burned stone castle, and within it, it can hold a giant army, right? A giant host. That's why it was so important in War of the Five Kings. You can just have a giant army living inside there, as long as you have the resources, of course, and they are protected. So it's the best castle to stay at. So the Greens want to muster an army in there, while the Blacks want to do the same thing. And so that's why Daemon wanted to fly over to Harrenhal. And in these shots, we have two different kind of shots. So at the top, we have him in his classic, like, black Valyrian armor. He wore a similar armor when fighting on the Stepstones. He also wore it at the tourney during the jousting in Season 1, except he had dragon wings attached. Because, of course, in a tourney, people wear a bit more flamboyant, grandiloquent pieces of armor and helmets and pauldrons and so on to look really dramatic and, to show off. They're like peacocks. They're strutting peacocks. Excuse me. So the pictures at the top are clearly Daemon arriving at Harrenhal. So he must have landed with Caraxes, and we'll see some of that later. And he's coming into the castle. We know in the book that the assault on Harrenhal is bloodless. They're basically like, we know what Aegon the Conqueror did. We're not going to risk that. We're not going to risk burning. We're going to... House Strong opens the gates. Even though, because their father, Lord Larys, is in King's Landing and supports the Greens, therefore his family must support them, but they open the gates because they don't want to die. So this looks like Daemon just making his way through Harrenhal. And this raises a question. If Daemon has kind of flown off by himself and no one knows where he's going, does he have an army with him? Because he doesn't, right? He doesn't have an army. So I'm a bit confused. Because the whole point is you march an army up to Harrenhal, you have a big dragon, and you say, open the gates, let our army in, or we're going to burn you. They don't have a choice. The gates open, the army comes in and settles, and then he wants to build up a larger Riverland army over time. But if he comes by himself, but without an army, he's kind of at risk, isn't he? Let's say that he lands Caraxes on the walls of Harrenhal, or on a spire or a tower or whatever. I'm sure in Fire and Blood he does land on something, I can't remember. But he lands on it and then he says, I'm going to burn you all. I'll destroy you unless you let me in. And then they're like, fine, we open the gates, and he walks in. And it's just one man versus an entire garrison. Like, what's to stop them just killing him? Like, once they kill him, Caraxes has no rider. Right? Caraxes has no rider. He could just fly off in their head. Now, most likely they probably have a fear of, do you want to risk killing a dragon's rider? What will the dragon do? If Daemon confidently strides in, but then we betray him and cut his head off, will Caraxes then go nuts and destroy all of Harrenhal, or will he just fly away, like whoosh? So I hope they explain why exactly Daemon can get away with being a one-man army. Like, just because he has a dragon doesn't mean that he's defended while he's in the castle itself. So I can only imagine it's a case of the bond between dragon and rider is strong, and people are aware of it, and they know that if they harmed Daemon, then Caraxes, wherever he's chilling, will go wild and burn everything down. I hope that's explained. And of course, the bottom slides are after Daemon has settled in Harrenhal and is now living there, sleeping there, planning there, because he appears to be in his pyjamas, and he's looking around all confused. So we'll dive into Daemon a bit more when we get to some later shots, because there's apparently Harrenhal, there's a lot going on in Harrenhal. I've talked about it in previous live streams. And shout out to the YouTuber Voice of Old Town, who's on Twitter, has seen the first 4 episodes. I haven't. He said that some of his favourite scenes of the first 4 episodes involve Harrenhal. But we will dive into it a bit later. Looks like we have none other than Quinn the GM in the chat. What's he saying? I'm a bit confused. But what? So have I got that right? The whole army thing? Let me double check. Let me see. Quinn says, bad haircut in the thumbnail, instant dislike. I mean, it ages Quimby up. We'll be looking at that picture later, but Kristen's new cut does make him look older. He's potentially somewhat believable as a very good-looking, very young-looking 40-year-old. And I say that with a massive question mark. Yeah, and Quinn also says, I love the looming presence of the weirwood leaves in the bottom 2 pictures of the of that slide. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, we'll dive into that more, but let's just say this season will be focusing on Daemon's psyche, the psychology of this character, having him interact off of 1 or 2 powerful characters played by powerful actors, and delving into the concept of Harrenhal being this twisted, cursed place. So, moving on, we have some new drip, and I do have to admit, when I first saw Rhaenyra's thing, I was reminded of the cursed Marjorie ice cream cone. God damn, what was that about? But no, it looks like she just has a cloak of some sort on. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but probably to warm her up. Yeah, we have some new drip. I think this is... we'll get into this in a couple of slides, but this is the same thing she's wearing in another promo picture where she's next to Rhaenyra, because Rhaenyra's about to do something. But we'll dive into that in a second. And then we have a council shot here. And I really do appreciate how House of the Dragon is making a concerted effort to not just to bring in all of these side characters that aren't 100% necessary and you could merge and cut and so on, but actually they bring in these side characters and they're giving them a proper role and proper lines and giving them some focus. So in this picture on the right, this tall bearded man is Sir Alfred Broom, who's a knight, probably from a minor house, House Broom, in the service of Dragonstone. And he does have a role to play in Fire and Blood, but you could have cut him, but it's really interesting that they didn't. They're like, no, let's give him some attention, right? Let's give him some lines. On the very far left, we have Maester Gerardis, Rhaenyra's Maester. He's had quite a fair bit to say, and that makes sense, because, that's Rhaenyra's friend and Maester. Even the Kingsguard, Steffon Darklyn, Laurent Marbrand, are continuing to have lines of dialogue and are being pushed front and centre so that the viewer remembers who they are. I really appreciate that. Yeah, and in some council shots later on, we see a few more members around the council. But this council meeting could be about anything. It could be about... They're confronting Rhaenyra about Daemon leaving, right? They're like, your husband has left. Are they talking about him taking Harrenhal, perhaps? Or are they asking, where has he gone, right? He was a huge part of securing your legitimacy. He was Viserys' younger brother. He's the rogue prince. He's very popular and charismatic among the small folk because of how he led the City Watch. And he's known to be a great wartime hero after what he did in the Stepstones. And, a mixed reputation. I'm sure some people think he's a madman. Other people think he's a hero. But it could be damaging to her claim if her husband/uncle has suddenly disappeared. Again, they could also help her claim, but they could be confronting her saying, what happened? Why is he left? What's going on? We need him. Or, I believe in the trailer they do talk about dragons, so it could be, I want some proper dragon discussions, right? We've had 2 episodes, we've talked a bit about strategy and military, but I really want both Team Green and Team Black in their respective councils to just sit down and talk about the dragon situation. Who has what dragons? What are their sizes? How are they going to use them tactically? How are they going to use them strategically? How will they use them defensively and offensively? What's going on? Instead of just being like, oh, we have dragons, but they're destructive, and then we can't use them because they're so destructive, and then you move on. It's like, no, give us some more. Give us some dragon math. Give us some beautiful dragon mathematics. Have gliders present it. Yeah. Next up, we have Baela, who looks like she's cosplaying Dany. that should be showing up on the screen round about now. Yeah, Baela looks like she's cosplaying Dany, as in like very, very, very similar, with that black outfit and then the half cape that's red, and of course the color grading of season 8, everything was so washed out that the red cloak on Daenerys looks brown, whereas that still of Baela on the left, that's red. That's like a crimson. But yeah, we've got, and I said, oh yeah, I wrote foreshadowing. Sometimes I forget the dumb fucking captions I give these. I put foreshadowing question mark because maybe this is foreshadowing that Baela will become Daenerys. Because as we know in Fire and Blood, Baela rides Moondancer to King's Landing and she hears some bells ringing and then she burns the entire city down. Okay, that doesn't happen, but maybe it will. You don't know. Ryan Condal might do it. Brian Fondle might might change some of the tweak some of the scripts. But no, there has to be a deliberate nod to Rhaenyra, right? To Daenerys in terms of the outfit. It is very drippy. And then in the top right, we have probably the same shot of Rhaenyra and Baela at the council. So hopefully we're giving Baela more to do, more to say. We're kind of getting to know these characters because they basically didn't have any personality in season 1 outside of Baela can ride a dragon and Rhaena can't. So we want to showcase them more. We got a bit of Baela last episode where she was interacting with Jacaerys and they had a nice little chat and they were friendly. You know, they're betrothed, they're due to be married. It's political, but they get on at least. They're friends. Quinn says, give all wild dialogue or we riot. I'm not an all wild guy. I'm an Ironrod guy. Ironrod being called Ironrod was the greatest thing ever. That man is the GOAT. I'm telling you now, he's underrated. Ironrod is the GOAT. We need at least some line of dialogue explaining why he's called Ironrod. Like the two reasons he's called Ironrod. We need something. There we go. So moving on from Baela to Rhaena. So in the book we have the twins. Baela sort of has short tomboy hair and wears riding leathers and is very boyish, and then Rhaena, the younger of the twins in the sense that she came out slightly afterwards, is more girly and feminine and all that stuff. It's a classic, you have twins and then they're opposites. He does that more than once, actually. By him I mean George R. R. Martin. He's done that more than once in Targaryen lore. There's a lot of twins in this story. So in this show they have not made Baela and Rhaena twins. Baela is meant to be slightly older, I believe, but in the original Fire and Blood, you've got Baela and Rhaena, you have Jason and Tyrion Lannister, you have Jaehaerys and Jaehaera, you have Eric and Arik. It's like, why are there 4 sets of twins? He loves his twins. But yeah, hopefully we can find out more about Rhaena's personality. And we know that she's going on a Vale vacation. This is her gap year. She's had some time at uni. She wants to discover herself, man. She doesn't want a job yet. She's going to take her parents' funds and boom, fly out to Australia. Discover herself, man. Hook up with some white guy with dreads. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so we know she's going to the Vale because in Fire and Blood, she travels to the Vale with a clutch of dragon eggs and with Rhaenyra's third bastard son, Joffrey Velaryon, and Joffrey's dragon, tiny little dragon, Tyraxes. The idea being that Lady Jane Arryn said, I will support you, but only if the Vale and specifically the Eyrie is defended by a dragon. And so Rhaenyra says, 2 birds with 1 stone. I can send you my son and a dragon to defend you, but also that means that my son gets to be safe living in the Eyrie because no one's going to take the Eyrie. So Joffrey and Rhaena are going to the Eyrie. They're going to be safe. They don't really do much when they're there, but hopefully they'll be doing more in this season. And I'm assuming the picture on the right is Rhaena in Dragonstone, probably discussing being sent to the Vale. I don't think it's her at the Eyrie. I think it would feel a bit rushed if she travels to the Eyrie at the start of the episode, then at the end of the episode she's there. But we will see the Eyrie because Lady Jane Arryn has been cast. And I imagine we're going to get to know more of her interacting with, creating some show-only scenes where she's interacting with Jane Arryn, maybe interacting with Joffrey, and so on. And also, yeah, there are the supposed leak, which is super controversial. No one knows if it's true or not, that Rhaena will take the place of Nettles. I've discussed that already in my previous live streams. I'll discuss it again if it happens. Even if it doesn't happen, I'll also discuss it. Blah blah blah. But now's not the time. But yeah, give her a personality. Let me know. Let me know what her vibe is, because we've already given Baylor some of those tomboyish aspects from the books, in terms of she's standing there looking badass with a crossbow. So okay. Are we gonna go down the route of Rhaena being a bit more feminine, maybe? I don't know. And what's she gonna get up to in the Vale? Because we really missed out on having cool scenes with Jason the Vale interacting with Jane Arryn and trying to sway her. Maybe we could have had Jane Arryn saying, maybe I'll join you. Her lover, Jessamine Redfort, being like, yeah, we gotta side with Rhaenyra. She's a woman. She helps legitimize your claim. And then you could have had the Royces saying, nah, screw that. She's married to Daemon, and Daemon murdered his Royce wife, etc. But then my guess is that there was going to be a Jace eerie scene when the season was 10 episodes, and then when it was cut down to 8 by HBO, not creative decision according to one of the head writers, Sarah Hess, then I imagine they truncated it and they were like, okay, we have to skip. He has to go straight to the wall. So now we move on to the one, the only, the BDSM barn. So is a couple of shots of Rhaenys and Corlys looking into each other's eyes quite lovingly. And it's quite a nice shot. Rhaenys is looking down at him, he's looking at her, and just looking at Corlys's face, he's fully like, that's a man in love, My question is, where the fuck are they? Like, why are they in a barn? Or they look like they're in a barn, they look like they're in a stable, they look like, are they like, is this the ship that's being rebuilt? Corlys's ship? Are they like underneath with the scaffolding? I have no idea where they are. I'm really confused. And it's called the BDSM barn, of course, because we learned last episode that Corlys likes it when Rhaenys tells him what to do. But he says occasionally, so we know Corlys is a switch, right? That is canon. George R. R. Martin is doing a Q&A in Oxford that I'll be attending in a few weeks time, and I'll definitely go up there and ask, canonically, can I just ask, canonically, is Corlys Velaryon in the books also a switch? And I'll see what his response is. Moving on, what do we have here? Moving on, we have the literal short king, Aegon himself. So we have a couple of stills of him in armor. Excuse me. In armor, talking to Larys. So there is that famous shot in the trailer for this season where he's on a dragon and he's got a helmet on, and the crown of the Conqueror is fused into the helmet, and he's wearing bulky pauldrons. He hasn't got the pauldrons on now, so he's not fully decked out, but he is in armor. And he's talking to Larys. So 3 things to mention here. For one, and I will check the chat in a bit to see what people are talking about. 3 things to mention. 1, Larys and Aegon's relationship is clearly getting closer. Aegon probably remembers that Larys is the one who told him to be wary of Otto and to leave Otto's shadow, and his grasping nature, and push him aside and be like, no, grandfather, I don't need you as my hand. I will choose my hand. I will have my own counsel. I'll do what I want. I'll rule how I want. I won't let you be my puppeteer. He's the puppet who cuts his own strings off last episode. And Larys helped him do it in episode 1. Larys coaxed him. Larys was like, Otto was Viserys's hand. Why does he need to be your hand? And so this could be Aegon being like, hey, you gave me a good piece of advice there, and of course you're the Lord Confessor, so you helped to catch blood, so he probably is indebted to him in that sense. And Larys could be Larys being like, moving on. He's a parasite, right? He moves on from host to host. He doesn't. Otto, he no longer needs to work with Otto. He's probably, with Otto being fired, he's probably taking over Otto's network of spies in the same way he took over Mysaria's, right? So he probably completely controls the network within King's Landing. Maybe he still has ties to Alicent, but he's probably mostly had his fill of feet pics, and he's jumping on to Aegon, the short king. And so he's going to be like, hey, a new host for me to suck off. That was poorly phrased. Anyway, so Larys is going to say, I reckon Larys is going to be like, okay, I've got all this big spy network. I helped you with Otto. I helped you with Blood and Cheese. Maybe I need, a reward of some sort. Maybe some extra crown funding. Maybe, I don't know, a position on the council. Because in Fire and Blood, Larys is the Master of Whisperers. In fact, he's the first officially named Master of Whisperers in that book, I think. I'm not saying he was the first person to ever hold the title of Master of Whisperers, but before Larys, we are not told in Fire and Blood whether there was a Master of Whisperers before him in any official capacity. Of course, Maegor the Cruel, King Maegor the Cruel, his mistress Tyanna of the Tower was given the nickname Mistress of Whisperers, and she was his unofficial spy master, but it wasn't like an official council position. So I do wonder if this will be a scene of Aegon giving Larys that position, Master of Whisperers, and creating that position, because it's not currently on the council, right? In Fire and Blood, Larys is already on the small council when the coup takes place, whereas last season he wasn't. So this could be him being like, make me your official spy master, make me your Master of Whisperers, give me some more funding, and I'll help spread my network. And and then Aegon will be like, yeah, you can be my Master of Whisperers, because I'm going to create a council of loyal allies. And we'll get into that a bit later, talking about how Aegon is going to expand his power now that he's crawled out of the shadow of Otto Hightower. But part of it could be, you're my ally, you're my friend, come join me at the council table. And Larys will be like, don't mind if I do. Or maybe not, maybe... there is a shot in the Weeks Ahead trailer, a 2-second shot of the council from a future episode, and we do see Larys sitting at the table. So that could be this episode. It could also be the next episode. Maybe they don't have that discussion here. But either way, they've got close and closer... They've got a closer and closer bond. The Parasite has jumped onto a new host. And of course it makes sense, because we know Larys goes on... Just a reminder to everyone again, it's a spoiler live stream, looking at book spoilers, etc. So click off if you don't want spoilers. But we know that after Rook's Rest and after Aegon gets crisped up, then you have the fall of King's Landing. It's Larys who helps smuggle Aegon out of King's Landing with a couple of Kingsguard. So you kind of need to build up this relationship to then have that smuggling take place, I reckon. So that's quite cool. But for what it's worth, I do not believe the whole Larys walking rats theory. I think it's really fun and cool, and it's a great idea. I don't think it's true for the show, and I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it needs to be. I think it's more interesting that he doesn't have magical powers, personally. And this next slide, I just want to celebrate the Short King, as he is 5'8" Aegon, looking like an absolute champion. Look at him there. 5'11" versus 6 foot right there. Fun fact, Aegon is actually taller than me, which is depressing. Anyway, moving on. Next up, we'll be looking at Crimby Cole. Let's see if there's anything... What's the chat been saying? What's the chat up to? I'm telling you, one of these days I will get a second one. Live streaming with a single monitor is insane. I will get a second one where I have the chat up so I can more easily... Yes, people support the Iron Rod love. I'm telling you, Jasper Wilde. I've always liked Jasper Wilde. I don't know why. Such a random house too. House Wilde? Why? Why is he on the Green Council? Iron Rod's comment in episode 1 was savage, someone says. Yeah, that was when Alicent says, has Rhaenyra responded to my letters? And Iron Rod's like, what, the apology for her dead son? Yeah, no, she hasn't, believe it or not, she hasn't responded to that. Why did they skip the whole Jace arc in the north? I think it's the season being truncated out of the control of Ryan Condal, allegedly. Ratfoot himself, yeah, everyone's calling him Ratfoot. Everyone's calling him Ratfoot. Which is a great name, actually. For like a medieval schemer, Ratfoot. That's a fantastic name. I'm going to steal that when I write my own fantasy saga. But no, I don't think he'll be the warg guy. The Twitter comments on this pic have been pretty funny. Yeah, people have been roasting. Oh yes, I said there were 3 things I was going to say, didn't I? And I said 2 things. I said no. I said 1 thing. I said I have 3 points to make, and I made 1 point, which was the whole Aegon and Larys relationship getting closer. No, the other thing I was going to say about that picture is just how annoying Hot D discourse can be. That's what I was gonna bring up. The fact that there were some people online were being like, they've deliberately given Aegon badly fitting armor because they want him to look bad because the writers are biased and they hate the Greens and they want all the blacks. They want Daemon to have armor that looks badass and fits, and they want Aegon to have terrible armor because blah, 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 and all this like weird stuff, like as if the showrunners gone out of their way to ask Aegon to have bad armor so that the viewers subconsciously don't like it's just the costume department maybe not getting him the best armor. Like, it's that simple. Goddamn schizophrenia. Anyway, why hasn't the next slide come up? Okay, should be coming up now. So Crimby Cole, this episode he's getting a fresh cut. Looks like the episode won't open with a fresh cut because we've got the shot in the top right of Kristen. It's quite a dramatic shot. This episode is being directed by Geeta Patel, who directed episode 8 of season 1, the best episode of House of the Dragon, and very, very well directed. I believe Geeta Patel was actually, before Hot D, she was actually a documentary filmmaker, which is pretty cool. But that's a really awesome artistic shot. You know, Kristen is there in a dark room, bathed in light. It's almost holy, right? It's like a divine light shining on him. He's probably weighed down by his guilt, sleeping with Alicent, being a hypocrite, not being there to protect Helena and Jaehaera and Jaehaerys, sending Sir Arik to his death, which he probably knew was going to happen. So it could be the guilt weighing him down, and also the burden of responsibility. The burden of responsibility. He has been named Hand. Sorry about that. He's not the first commoner Hand, technically. That's Septon Bath, I believe. But like, he is common born. He is half Dornish, and he was named to the Kingsguard. Then he became Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, and now he's become Hand of the King. This is a huge deal. And let's be honest, he doesn't know how to run affairs, right? He probably doesn't know about diplomacy. He doesn't know about taxes. He probably can't even fucking read. He's probably getting letters from great houses being like, yes, yeah, well, okay, that's interesting. House Stark? Okay, well, I can't fucking read, so I'm just going to put that in the bin over there. There we go. Next one. And just going through all the letters, like, making notes in crayon, just like, I have no idea what I'm doing right now. But he's got long hair, which so, yeah, the haircut. When characters have haircuts in fiction, specifically visual media, it usually symbolises some sort of change. So for Kristen, I think it's clearly a transition from Lord Commander to Hand. This is him. I'm now Hand of the King. I have lots of responsibility. I'm going out onto the battlefield. I'm making battle plans. I am now part of this war. I'm not just a bystander. I'm not just a glorified bodyguard or the man who commands the other glorified bodyguards. I am a key player here, and I need to take things seriously. And so he has a physical transformation to represent this. So he cuts his hair. It does look more professional. It looks less kind of like model. You know, his other haircut makes him look like a sexy model. This is looks more medieval, looks more strict and severe. And it does age him somewhat. Like, you can imagine in season 1, after the 10-year time skip, he probably should have emerged with that haircut because it does age him. Do I believe he's in his 40s like he's meant to be canonically? No. But I don't know, that picture of Kristen on the horse, if you told me that's a very young-looking, very good-looking 40-year-old, I'd probably be like, yeah, I guess. You know, Dornish genes, dermatologists hate him and all that, I guess. The question is he going to cut his own hair? Are we going to have a scene where because that shot in the top right almost looks like a mirror. Is he going to sit in the chair and, like, get a dagger out and start cutting his hair dramatically? Or is he going to sit there and be like, send a servant to cut my hair, please. Just fuck my shit up, fam. People hate this haircut, but I think it works. I like the transformation angle there. So moving on, we have some stills of Alicent and Helena. Just checking the chat, sorry. Just keeping an eye on stuff. Yes, Helena and Alicent. So on the top right, we've got Helena walking up some stairs. There's also a shot in the trailer of her in the streets of King's Landing, and then another one of her in a sept. So I have a feeling this is her heading to the sept with 2 guards next to her, 2 members of the Kingsguard. Not entirely sure who they are, judging from that shot. And then we've got a couple more pictures of her interacting with Helena, which is obviously great because we want to see more of Helena because she's just a really fascinating character, and she's giving a great performance, and we just want to see more of her. We want to see how she's reacting to everything that's happening, to the death of her son and the funeral procession and all that. This is her bedroom. There are those boxes in the background. If you look at the bottom right, there are these open boxes, and in the behind the scenes videos, they showed that these boxes were like filled with bugs and insects. So I'm not entirely sure what she's doing right there, but it could be she's engaging in some kind of special interest, right? Some kind of autistic, like, hyper focus. Maybe she's looking at some bugs. Maybe she's sewing some bugs. Maybe she's going to talk to Alicent, to calm herself down after all the trauma. She's going to be like, okay, let me talk to you about some centipedes. Let me explain the nature of butterflies to you. Let me tell you about spiders, okay? And Alicent's going to be like, God damn it, just hug me. I don't know what this scene... Excuse me. I don't know if this scene will be a kind of understanding between them, where Alicent lets Helena grieve in the way she wants to grieve, or whether it'll be Alicent, as usual, being a bad mother and kind of being like, I don't understand my daughter, I want to embrace her, I want to talk to her about certain things, and she's interpreting things weirdly, and I give up. So, I don't know, will it be a positive scene, a negative scene? Maybe just a silent scene of them interacting? One of my hopes for the season was just like one scene of Otto and Helena, which we didn't get, just because that one bit in episode 8 where Helena gives an awkward speech and Otto nods and says, very good. He goes, good. It's just a really cute scene, and he's later like clapping as she's dancing, and it would have liked just one scene of them interacting before he left. But yeah, he might still be in King's Landing. I don't know if he's officially gone, but he probably has, right? I'd be surprised if... It would be weird to give him an epic rant in episode 2 and end it with him declaring that he's going to go to High Garden and Old Town, and then he's like still hanging about. So I reckon Otto's gone, potentially for the whole season. Oh, is someone mentioning Larys being Lord of Harrenhal? So yes, hopefully there is a discussion at some point. They're talking about getting a toehold into Harrenhal. Hopefully there's a discussion with him, like, you are literally the Lord of Harrenhal. Your family support us. Can you help us? Send some letters to your castellan there, and so on. Okay, just checking out the chat. So this next shot is the road to war. So this is a big old army marching out of King's Landing. This is clearly the lead up to Rook's Rest and everything that happens before Rook's Rest. So Kristen was giving some ideas in episode 1, throwing coins onto the map, talking about the houses directly surrounding King's Landing. And then he's now the Hand, so he's probably going to act on that. He's not being held back by Otto. So obviously the plan is to march the army out, go to Rosby and Stokeworth, who are loyal or are neutral. I think in the book, Rosby and Stokeworth support Rhaenyra, so they're arrested. I'm not sure if they're executed, but they're arrested. And then, because of that, their houses kind of give in. I can't remember. But they're going to go to Rosby and Stokeworth to build up their levies, and then they're going to march on to Duskendale, and they ended up sacking Duskendale and executing Lord Darklyn. Then they marched on to Rook's Rest to do the same, to seize it, sack it, and execute Lord Staunton. But of course, it was also this big army, unprotected by dragons, marching through the Crown Lands, bringing houses over to their side, big show of strength. It's used as a trap to basically lure Rhaenyra out, to be like, let me save you, but then boom, surprise Sunfire and Vhagar. But of course Rhaenyra doesn't come, Rhaenys comes. But I think Rook's Rest, everyone has basically said it's going to be episode 4, right? It's going to be episode 4. So this is the prelude. So that's kind of interesting that we're already getting shots of the army marching out. So this is like the beginning of that Crownlands campaign. Episode 4 would be the crux of it, and episode 5 might be the aftermath. It's kind of feeling like these episodes are two-parters, Episode 1 and 2 kind of work as a two-parter, and I can imagine 3 and 4 will likewise work as a two-parter. Yeah, someone says Kristen probably does know how to read because his father was a steward. That is true. I was kind of joking. And also, the whole idea of like commoners not knowing how to read is massively exaggerated in fiction and especially fantasy. You had medieval cookbooks that were popular in peasant villages, and it's like, how would they be popular if they couldn't read them? They could teach themselves how to read. So it's not as over the top as it's portrayed. But obviously there were high levels of illiteracy. Okay, next up we have a collection of shots that are clearly showing off the Cargill funeral. So we have both Cargill twins in a pit, having dirt thrown on them. Little funeral, buried side by side, very respectable. I don't know why the text up there says "let him hammer." I think that's because I was using the same slides from my previous live stream, and I was just deleting those pictures and putting new pictures in. But I think I forgot to delete the phrase "let him hammer," so that's unfortunate. Rhaenyra and Rhaenys are watching the Cargill twins get buried, and Rhaenys is just like, let him hammer. It's the medieval version of let him cook. So yeah, they're watching the twins get buried, and in lots of trailers we have the shot of them looking down and talking, and Rhaenyra is talking more aggressively, you know, Alicent's in King's Landing, my son's on the throne, and Rhaenys is being more cautious, you know, like, war between kin is super dangerous, war between dragons is super bloody and fiery, and you have to be careful of destruction and bloodshed and things spiraling out of control, which is cool, but it just doesn't really seem to fit with the Rhaenys who burst out the dragon pit. Like, I just wish that scene didn't exist, because it makes all of her proclamations of how important peace is sound really weird. You know, she killed a bunch of civilians and then roared at the high towers and then flew away, and it's like, huh? But I've talked about that enough. She's never gonna... someone mentioned Dreamfire in the chat. Helena's not gonna ride Dreamfire. Even before Blood and Cheese, she probably wasn't going to. Like, she's not exactly a warrior woman. But especially now, in her grieving, traumatized state, Helena's not gonna be riding Dreamfire. So although the Greens have 4 dragons, including Tessarion, because Daeron was mentioned, although it has also been clarified that he by Ryan Condor that he hasn't claimed his dragon yet. So technically, Team Green have 3 dragons, but if you cut out Dreamfire, realistically they have 2. So they have Vhagar and Sunfire. So I hope we have some actual discussion about, like I said, dragon logistics, dragon math. Next up, we have the Brackens versus the Blackwoods. Get hype! Wow, Brackens versus Blackwoods. That sounds like the name of an upcoming video on Fantasy Haven, an upcoming animated video. How interesting! So here we have on the left clearly a bunch of Blackwoods. They're tall, they're gangly, they have dark hair, they're wearing black and red, the colours of House Blackwood. And then on the right, we literally have someone in Bracken colours with a Bracken sigil on his chest. What is this shot going to be? Setting up the tension and rivalry between these houses so that the audience can be reminded, oh yes, the Brackens and the Blackwoods hate each other, and maybe they'll be reminded of the scene in season 1 where the Blackwood kid got into a duel with the older Bracken lad, and the Blackwood stabbed the Bracken in the gut. Long running feud, long ancient almost mythological rivalry, founded on a whole bunch of bullshit premises and so on, and dynastic myths and beef. It's just ridiculous beef. It's just Hatfields and McCoys, right? So this will either be setting that up, or this might be like the direct prelude to Battle of the Burning Mill, but probably not. I think this is just establishing that both sides hate each other. Maybe they bumped into each other. Maybe one of or the other side is trying to claim this field, like this field belongs to House Bracken, or this field belongs to Raventree Hall, or whatever. And then maybe, because there are more, it looks like there are more Blackwoods. I know there are some Brackens behind this Bracken in another shot, but I think there are more Blackwoods, and they're more aggressive than the Bracken. So it could be the Brackens are being chased off their own land or whatever, and they're going to go back with their tail between their legs. And we know that someone has been cast as Amos Bracken, who the Lord is Humphrey Bracken, but we don't know if a Humphrey Bracken has been cast, so it could be they're making Amos the Lord. But we'll have an Amos Bracken who'll be like, that's it. If these scumbag Blackwoods are going to mess with us and these Blackwoods support Rhaenyra, we're going to go out of our way to support Aegon just to spite them. Or the other way around, maybe the Brackens support the Brackens support Aegon, and then the Blackwoods, out of spite, are like, screw you. Because I don't know who's going to go first. I can't remember what it is in the book. But the classic thing is that they're always on the opposite side of every conflict. Almost every conflict. The Brackens will pick one side, the Blackwoods will pick another. So it's actually quite a rarity in the main book series, The War of the Five Kings, that the Brackens and Blackwoods actually are on the same side. But it's because they respect Hosta so much. Yeah, so I am interested to see how this scene goes down. We get a good shot of two characters here. First off, on the left, well, actually, in the way they're, yeah, on the screen it's left and right, but I've actually got it the wrong way around based on how they're facing each other in the shot. But we have the Bracken lad, the famous Bracken twink, as the fandom calls him. I've said this before, I'll say it again. For several live streams breaking down the trailers, I thought this was a woman in armor, and I thought it didn't really make sense for House Bracken to have a woman in wearing armor and wielding a sword. That doesn't feel like House Bracken at all. But it is actually a dude. It's the Twink Bracken, the famous Twink Bracken. And the guy who's playing Amos Bracken is like classic Bracken. He's like a big square. He looks just like the way I draw my Brackens with square jaws and like butt chins. He's got like a square jaw and a butt chin, and he's balding and he has a scowl. That's what the Brackens are. They're stocky, they're sturdy, they're arrogant, they're lustful, they're hairy. The men are all burly and hairy, and the women are all kind of like curvy and busty. So they kind of have a healthy, hearty, strong-boned vibe to them. And we know this from Bitter Steel, the Bracken bastard, who's like a big man with a strong jaw and a strong dark beard. And there was an old Bracken called the Brute of Bracken. The name kind of implies what he looks like. And of course we have Jonas Bracken from the main series, who is burly and hairy and all that stuff. So the actor playing Amos, I should have got a picture of him up, but he looks like a classic Bracken. So this kind of gives me the impression of like a sort of a somewhat, especially as he's being pushed around by the Blackwoods, this is like a somewhat young, uncertain Bracken who will flee back to Stonehenge with his tail between his legs. And maybe Amos is playing his father, will be like, "What, you let those Blackwoods push you around? We're going to join Aegon and we're going to destroy Blackwood lands," or whatever. Or maybe this will lead to a full-on duel in which one of them dies, I don't know. But on the right, we have a Blackwood looking kind of crazy and like licking his teeth. And we also see in another trailer, we see him pushing the Bracken. So, which is fun, because the Brackens are always portrayed as the bad guys. Like, George always has the Brackens as the arseholes, and the Blackwoods as the good, noble, old god-worshipping people. So it's kind of fun that the Bracken's kind of on the defense here, and this Blackwood is like being an arsehole, pushing him and licking his teeth. Part of me is wondering, is this a random Blackwood, or is this Benjicott? Because at this point in the story, there is a Lord Samwell Blackwood. And he has a son called Benjicott Blackwood, who becomes known as Bloody Ben, because after Samwell Blackwood dies, Benjicott becomes a lord, and he's like 11 years old, and he goes out and commands armies and fights in battles, and it's extremely stupid because George doesn't really understand ages that well, but he ends up forming the lads with it's Benjicott Blackwood. Who are the others? Not Grover, not Elmo. Oscar Tully. It's Benjicott Blackwood, Oscar Tully, and who's the other one? Is it? Kermit Tully. Yeah, Kermit Tully. He forms the lads with with Oscar Tully and Bloody Ben, and they go to King's Landing. Yeah. Anyway, so this could be Bloody Ben. They've aged him up into a teenager instead of an 11-year-old. And the fan art does tend to portray Bloody Ben as like a crazy person, like a crazy child, which isn't exactly true. I mean, he is in a bunch of battles, but he does weep at those battles because of all the bloodshed. But if this is him, it looks like they're going down the sort of Bloody Ben as a nutcase route, which is quite fun, honestly. Or it could just be a random Blackwood. But I'm thinking it's Bloody Ben, because why would you give him that focus? Why would you can't just have a random guy licking his teeth, looking all crazy. He's a young Blackwood. He has to be Ben. What kind of a name is Benjicott anyway? Benjicott Blackwood. You know what? Now that I say it, it does sound cool. I immediately changed my mind. Just immediately, straight away. Okay, moving on. We have the new hand. So I won't go too much into this. This is... Oh yeah, but for what it's worth, we've gone into trailer shots now. the road to war, I don't know if I mentioned this. We've gone through the official promos, now we're into the trailer, starting with that shot of the soldiers marching out of King's Landing. But this is the same shot we got from the still, the sunlight coming in, Kristen leaning on the chair. It's worth noting, actually, I didn't mention this, that this is the Tower of the Hand. So this was Otto's room. where he's standing, those windows are the same as the windows in Otto's room, where there's usually a desk in front of it, but now he's moved things around. But it's cool how they reuse the set like that. Like how Helena is now in... how Aegon is now in Viserys' room, and Helena is now in Alicent's room, and so on. That's quite fun. And then we have a shot of Kristen with the longer hair looking down, so we know that he will start the episode with longer hair and then have that physical transformation later on. And he will ask the barber to fuck his shit up. I'll have some water. And I recommend everyone watching to have water, because it's good to stay hydrated. I don't know why I always say that, it's kind of weird. Someone in the chat said 2 children LARPing. That is what the Bracken and Blackwood vibe is, isn't it? It's just a couple of kids just LARPing. Of course, we have Aegon Bittersteel himself in the chat saying House Bracken forever. Of course, Bittersteel never fails to turn up to all my videos and promote House Blackfire, spread his goddamn Blackfire propaganda everywhere. Okay, so we have more shots of the assault on Harrenhal. The dragon looks really good. These aren't the best quality shots, screenshots, admittedly, but Caraxes looks great, and I think it's in part because when you have CGI monsters in darkness and fog and rain, they're more obscured, and they tend to look better compared to, say, episode 1, Cyrax landing on the beach in the bright sun. Looked kind of dodgy, but Caraxes looks great, and doing that doing the Caraxes roar, you know, that was a bad impression. It was more like a dolphin. It's like, I can't do it, but the sound designer for Caraxes and all the dragons actually did a podcast, Game of Thrones podcast, the official one on the Game of Thrones channel, with Jason Concepcion and then I can't remember who the name of his co-host is, so I can't remember her name, but they do a podcast. It's a very normie podcast, you know, it's very normie. They crack kind of Twitter jokes and then they laugh a bit too much, and it's slightly annoying, but they get some good interviews. And one of them was the sound designer for the dragons, and she talked about the different animals that she used to create Caraxes' noise, because it's not like a voice actor. She takes different animals. I think there was a bit of dolphin in there, a bit of like whales, maybe seals. I can't remember the list, but she gave a long. I'd recommend that. But yeah, they the whole point is that they wanted the sound. They wanted the roar to be weird and distorted, because the idea is that it's travelling through a really long mutated neck, so it just comes out odd, and it's very distinctive and it's very fun. And yeah, this is obviously Daemon landing and being like, "Oh, hi Harrenhal, you want to open the gates or do you want to burn?" And we got foreshadowing for this in episode 1, where Blood and Cheese sneak into Aemon's room, and for some reason Aemon has like a giant mural of the burning of Harrenhal in his bedroom. I guess Targaryen princes get that bedroom. That's so edgy for Aemon to have that as his poster. Aegon's got like posters of like big titty barmaids and shit like that. He's probably got, what do people say he looks like? He looks like Gerard Way. He's got My Chemical Romance posters. And then in Aemon, he hasn't got any posters of models or shit like that. Aemon's just got a big mural of a castle burning and everyone in it burning to death because he's so edgy. But yeah, that shot is pretty cool, where Cheese looks up and is like, oh my god. Because it kind of hits him, I guess, in that moment. Oh god, we're like sneaking in to kill a Targaryen prince and these people are lunatics who burn entire castles. What are we doing? It's a nice wordless shot. And it foreshadows that we're going to see Harrenhal this season, and we're going to have Daemon delivering those threats to the strong garrison. Strong in matters of blood, maybe not in matters of spirit and conviction, I guess, if they open the door for him. This next shot, there's not much to say. It's just Jace doing what he does every scene of every episode, which is mogging. He's just showing off his sexy model face. He's pouting. Even at funerals, he can't help but pout. Whether it's his brother's funeral, I'm guessing this is like the Cargill funeral. I bet it could even be Jace who's throwing the dirt on. And he's giving that sexy model face where he's like, looking like Zoolander. And next up, we get a look at Aegon's brand new sigil, which is quite fun. I'm just going through the chat. I haven't scrolled through. I'm back at the Bracken Blackwood debate. Someone else is showing surprise that the Bracken lass is in fact a Bracken lad. Yeah. So here we have Aegon's new sigil being unfurled. And this kind of represents him coming into his own, coming into the light, out of Otto's shadow, taking over. And I'll talk more about that in the next slide. But we see his personal coat of arms unveiled. So if we look at the bottom right, we have the golden dragon on black is the show sigil. The book sigil. It's how it's described in Fire and Blood. It's a golden dragon on black instead of the red dragon on black. And just to clarify, this is not... I don't know what it would be in the show, but in the book, Aegon isn't replacing the Targaryen banner. Right, like, he is a Targaryen, it's red on black. That's a symbol of their dynasty and legitimacy. They're not going to scrap it. That's his personal coat of arms. And it's the coat of arms used by his supporters in battle so that both Targaryen sides can differentiate each other. It doesn't make sense for both sides of the war to have the same Targaryen banner because they'll get confused. So Aegon has the golden dragon on black, the golden dragon representing his dragon Sunfire, who we've only seen once in season 1, beautiful golden dragon with pink wings or something. We've seen Sunfire in a couple of trailer shots looking kind of murky and brown, and I'm not a big fan of the way it looks, but we'll have to see. And then the green dragon on black is I think the original Team Green sigil before they changed their mind. Because if you remember in the finale of episode 1, they say a ship is sailing towards Dragonstone. It's a green dragon on black. And then it's Otto and his entourage delivering terms to Rhaenyra. And I remember people were like, green dragon on black, is that the new sigil? That's lame. So instead they've mixed it up. So they've kept the golden Sunfire dragon and they put it on dark green to represent that it's Team Green and the Hightower green and so on, which I really like. I think a golden dragon on black looks better, ultimately, but golden dragon on dark green still looks really fucking good. And on top of that, I think I prefer it in terms of like what it means to the character, that he is showing off his dragon, his Targaryen heritage, and his Hightower heritage, you know? But the only annoying thing is that it looks like Rhaenyra's sigil is just going to be the red dragon on black. So it's like you're just taking the Targaryen sigil as your sigil, which not only doesn't make sense, unless Aegon is literally replacing the Targaryen sigil, but it kind of acts like a big message to the audience, being like, one side is the true Targaryen side, and the other one is the wrong one because they have the wrong colours. And it also implies that Team Black are like guaranteed to win because they have the sigil of the Targaryens we know in Game of Thrones. Of course, the ending of the dance is very complex. There isn't really a winner. No side really wins, but you know what I mean. I wish they'd given Rhaenyra something. Like I said this to Quinn the GM. What I would have liked was for. Because the Rhaenyra sigil in the book is terrible. The quartered sigil, two red dragons on black, and then House Aaron sigil and House Flowering sigil. It's messy. It's very realistic, but it's kind of gross to look at. I would have liked a silver dragon on black for Rhaenyra. Golden dragon on green versus silver dragon on black. The silver representing the alliance with House Flowering. That would have been really cool with a silver seahorse. But maybe silver and black isn't a great combo. But if you get like a bright silver. I don't know. But moving on. Are we moving on? Has Boomhaven found a way to move on? There we go. We have a new council. I'm just going to quickly check the chat. Actually, let me catch up with the chat because I haven't been catching up. So blah blah blah. Someone brought up Battle of the Fish Feed. Not going to happen this season, in my opinion. You need Battle of the Red Fork before Fish Feed, and I don't even think, at the very most, we will end the season with the Lannisters marching into the Riverlands. I don't think we're going to get any battles yet. Bunch of frog emojis. That must have been my Kermit voice. I've got to do one Kermit voice per live stream, apparently. Oh yeah, and people bring up the fact that because Kristen Cole lives in the Tower of the Hand now, that Alicent and Kristen might bang in the tower, which means they'll be fucking on her dad's bed. God damn it. Witch Mummy when someone says Alice Rivers will be in this season has been cast. It is funny that like Aemond being a MILF hunter is like an existing meme in the fandom, and they full on will like have him snuggle up with an older woman in a brothel. It's like they like drinking like warm milk with steam coming off it. It's like, god damn it, they knew what they were doing. Silver on black like Euron's in the show. Yes, show Euron's sigil is a silver kraken on black. I don't think it looked terrible. I think we could have had that. Okay, so what I think is going to happen, and so this ties in with a previous slide, of course, that we have Aegon, he's out of Otto's shadow. He has a new coat of arms, a new personal symbol. It's the golden dragon representing Sunfire on green, representing the High Towers at war, his Targaryen heritage, and his High Tower heritage, and his dragon. He's proud of all three, right? But on top of that, he's going to make some changes around here. He needs a new hand. Boom. He chose Criston Cole. He wants his brother on the council. Boom. Aemond is now on the council. Do you remember in episode 1 they were complaining, like, why is Aemond here? He doesn't have a position. Well, now he's here, and in other trailers we see him pick up a council ball. So he's an official member of the council. He's sitting in the Master of Ships seat. So there's a couple of options here, 3 options here. Either 1, he is the new Master of Ships, because Aegon's like, oh, you want a new Master of Ships? How about my brother? Doesn't really make sense, because Aemond doesn't know anything about ships as far as we know, and I mean, it would make sense in a kind of classic corrupt autocrat hiring family members in random positions they're not qualified for, but I don't know. My guess is that he will make Tywin Lannister Master of Ships. I can imagine a scene where he's like, yeah, you're right, we need a Master of Ships. Okay, Tywin, you have experience. And he's like, I'm Master of Coin. He's like, oh yeah, oh, you can be both. And he's like, I can't be both. Being both would be, and then like Criston interrupts, like, it would be an honour. And Tywin's awkwardly like, oh yeah, yes, an honour. Yes, it'll be an honour. Like wiping the sweat from his forehead. He's like, God damn it, I've got 2 fucking jobs now. But yeah, one option, he's Master of Ships. Another option is that he's just kind of a minister without portfolio, which is to say, he's my brother, he's a prince, he's an advisor, have him on the council. Another option, as my patron Flippy Dippy Doo mentioned to me, shout out to the Flipster, shout out to Flippy, she said that Aemond might be named Master of War. Now, in the books, there is no Master of War position. But in Game of Thrones, Season 5, they created a new council title, the Master of War. And Cersei gives it to Kevin Lannister, and then Kevin Lannister is like, fuck you, and walks away. And then I don't know if we ever hear about that position again. But this could be linking in with Game of Thrones. This could be Aegon creating that title and being like, or not necessarily creating it from scratch, but like utilising it, being like, okay, Aemond, you like to talk about military strategy. You can be my Master of War. Right, so he's got his friend / trainer and mentor / father figure or brother figure, Criston Cole. He has his actual brother, Aemond, official council position. And it's not in this trailer, but I've talked about the Kingsguard before, where you look at Aegon's Kingsguard. Harold Westerling is left. Laurent Marbrand and Steffon Darklyn are on Dragonstone serving Rhaenyra. Sir Eric has been killed. How many Kingsguard does Aegon have left? Well, he's got Lord Commander Criston Cole, of course. He's got the 2 Kingsguard who were eating at a bench, if you remember. They're eating at a bench, like when Criston like kicks the bench, eating at a table, Criston kicks a bench and like screams at Sir Eric. What I think has no relevance. That is a funny quote from Criston. Him shouting what I think has no relevance. It's like I can see people using that against him in the future. Like, yeah, no, you've got a good point, Criston. What you think does have no fucking relevance. Shut up. But anyway, Criston, yeah, being mad, and then you see 2 Kingsguard out of armor, and they're like, we're leaving. And they get up and they quickly walk away. So we know there are 2 unnamed Kingsguard. We know that someone was cast to play Sir Rickard Thorne. So we have Rickard Thorne. So we have Criston, 2 new members we don't know the name of. Rickard Thorne, who's an older man with a white beard. That leaves 3 more positions to be filled. 3 more Kingsguard positions. Who's going to fill those roles? Well, Aegon has 3 friends who aren't in the book. The people he was, his companions he was entertaining in episode 1, and who were trying to console him in episode 2. There's the tall redhead, Sir Martin Rain. There's the curly-haired guy, Leon Estamont, and there's the black gentleman, Eddard Waters, who's a bastard hedge knight. So just probably some like lesser sons, 10th in line to their particular castle, and the bastard hedge knight, blah blah. These kind of people who are just around at court, and Aegon's met them, and he's like, yeah, be my friends. we have seen shots of at least Leon Estamont and Martin Rain in Kingsguard armour. So what we're going to get is Aegon being like, as well as stacking up his council, giving himself a brand new coat of arms, he's going to be like, I need people I can trust protecting me. You, Martin Rain, you're like 7th in line to Castamere. Whatever, you can be my Kingsguard. You, Leon Estamont, maybe, you're not interested in marriage. Maybe you're gay. Maybe you're like 15th in line. Maybe you're this or that. Why don't you join my Kingsguard? Hey, Eddard Waters, you're a bastard. You've got no prospects. Join my Kingsguard. Yeah, and so he's filling out the ranks. It is worth noting that Ned Waters, there haven't been any pictures of him in Kingsguard armour, so he could join the Kingsguard, or maybe he'll have another role, right? So it could be cool if we see even more of Aegon placing his allies and close friends in certain positions of power. Maybe Aegon will be like, oh, Commander of the City Watch. I need a Commander of the City Watch who's loyal to me. I know, Ned Waters, right? That could make sense. Have a bastard hedge knight in charge of the City Watch. Because in the book, it's Luthor Largent who is actually pro-black, and he ends up betraying the Greens, and his deputy is Gwaine Hightower, who's kind of appointed to root out pro-black and pro-Daemon sympathisers in the City Watch. And Gwaine Hightower has been cast, but he's taking more of a commander-general role, so I don't think he's going to be in the City Watch, so it'll be cool if Aegon's like, boom, you guys are on my council, boom, my friends are on my Kingsguard, boom, my other friend is commander of the City Watch, haha. And Larys, of course, as we mentioned earlier, Larys, you're going to sit on my council as the Master of Whisperers. Hell yeah, that'll be fun. New council. And then we have Alicent here looking quite distressed, so this is probably her realising that she's losing power because her father's gone, and Aegon's stacking it with all his friends. Although, it's possible that she'll gain some power. Maybe she'll be like, hey, good thing you got rid of Otto. Anyway, listen to me instead. More likely they're going to have her losing power, although, again, that's just kind of... her story in Hot D so far has just been being set up in a position to gain power and become a cool political schemer, and then she doesn't do anything with it. And then she keeps falling out of power, and it's like, we didn't even get like a short period of time where she was like a proper schemer, we didn't. I'm always disappointed by the ending of episode 5 and then time skip, and you're like, okay, we're going to come back where Alicent's in charge of the Green faction. She's built a Green faction up in court. She's working on behalf of her father, who's in Old Town. But instead, she's like, I have no allies, and she seeks an ally in Larys Strong. And it's like, why do you not have a fucking ally in 10 years? Oh, I need to bring my dad back to help strengthen our position. It's like, why? You couldn't have had Alicent build that up? Anyway, it's just... I like her character. I like her performance. I like lots of parts about her. I like how she's more sympathetic than the books, but... in the book, rather. But I'm like, I don't know, there's not enough scheming. Where are the... I've said this before in my Patreon livestream, actually. I was like, where are the female villains in House of the Dragon? Where are the female schemers? Where are the power mongers? Where are the brutal, ruthless women? Why are you depriving us of that? Shut up about women's rights. We want women's wrongs, damn it. Where are the Cerseis and Melisandres? Complex villains. You don't just want a boring. But it is weird that we have basically 4 major female characters: Rhaenyra, Alicent, Mysaria, more secondary. In major, you have Rhaenyra and Alicent, and then secondary, you have Mysaria and Rhaenys. And then at this point, arguably tertiary, we have Rhaena and Baela. And ignoring Rhaena and Baela, because they haven't really been given personalities yet, or at least they're beginning to at last, all of these female characters are all pushing for peace. And they're pushing for peace and keeping the realm together and doing the right thing and not being bloody and violent and, letting the men take over. And it's like, it's like, why are you being boring? Why are you not letting the women be villainous? Like, Rhaenyra wants peace. Okay, sure, you want to make her sympathetic. You don't want her to be ruthless yet. Hopefully she can become more ruthless over time. Alicent, okay, no, she's not a schemer. She's not cunning. She didn't take part in the Green Council and the Green coup that was sprung on her. Okay, fine, you want her to be a bit more likeable. Fine. Mysaria, but very, very ruthless, like paying for blood and cheese in the book, in Fire and Blood. Controlling the spies in King's Landing, and here she's like, oh, I'm doing it for the people, and because I want to save the children from the fighting pits. Okay, sure, she's a woman of the people, fine, I guess. Rhaenys, ignoring the dragon pit scene, which is so not mentioned or referred or has been ignored by both the creators of the show and the characters within the show that it feels borderline non-canon. Ignoring the dragon pit killing people scene, Rhaenys is constantly pushing for, war is terrible, and Rhaenyra, you're the only one here who isn't giving in to the desire for bloodshed and all this stuff. And it's like, can we get some female villains? Can we get some brutal villains and power-hungry villains? Because there are women like that in real life and in real-world history. And at this point, and of course, we're going to get Alice Rivers, who hopefully we can have a proper, fun villainous character. A witch woman. That would be so much fun. But I just feel like, I don't know, the overemphasis on every single female character pushing for peace and I mean every single male character pushing for violence is weird. It's kind of weird and overdone, and it's almost gone to the point where it feels borderline kind of sexist, both to men and women, kind of assigning these very old school gender roles of women are all about peace and being gentle and calm, and men are all about dumb violence because they're a bunch of idiots. And it's what is this? What is this weird kind of, I don't know. Let's mix it up a bit. But I'm looking forward to Alice Rivers. And again, give me some nuance, give me some depth, give me some complexity. But also, if the you're gonna have men doing evil shit, have some women doing evil shit. Mix it up. But I also appreciate that a lot of these characters are being set up as less ruthless than they are in the book, because over time we want them to go through a character arc, and we want the war. We don't want to personally, but narratively we want. And thematically, we want the characters to go down a darker road and be twisted by this civil war, because that's what the war does. It destroys, it burns, it twists, it's futile, it's all that stuff. But that's just my opinion. I'm curious to see what everyone else's opinion is. So let me know in the chat if you agree with me, and if you don't agree, also let me know. I want to hear people who don't agree and are no, Haven, you're wrong. You're interpreting it wrong. Let me tell you why. I'm happy to see all that stuff. Because I don't want a circle jerk. I want a nice, diverse array of opinions. So what's next? While the comments are coming in, let's look at War in the Crownlands. So, this is the same shot as before from a different angle. It's the army led by Kristen Cole coming out of King's Landing to march through the Crownlands to seize Stokeworth, Rosby, Duskendale, and Rook's Rest, and so on. Again, this isn't the best quality screenshot, but you can see the soldiers. I think they're wearing green, because some people were speculating these might be Lannisters, but I think they're Hightowers because they're wearing green. So, because we know Gwaine Hightower is going to appear with an army, I reckon Old Town have sent a detachment led by Gwaine Hightower to bolster the forces of Aegon so that he can then march through the Crownlands and soak up the levies. My throat full on made a noise there. Next up, I hope you don't mind all the clicking. A little bit of Haven ASMR right there. On the move. Okay, so here we have Alicent walking through the street. 2 Kingsguard behind her. I don't know the one on our left, as in closest to the left. On our right, we see a man with a white beard. That looks like the guy who's playing Sir Rickard Thorne. It is kind of funny that they hired someone who looks suspiciously like Harold Westerling to play a Kingsguard, because I have a feeling a lot of casual audiences are going to see an older man with a white beard in the Kingsguard armor and will be like, oh hey, isn't that the guy who left? I guess he's back now. It's always weird when shows with a load of characters like this hire 2 actors that look very similar and wear similar stuff, and yeah. So the Grand Sept. So I don't know how much of this I want to talk about, because obviously I'm talking about trailers and I'm talking about book spoilers, but there's a specific leak regarding stuff that happens in the Sept. I think I won't talk about it. I don't think I'm as interested in talking about leaks for entire scenes, so I will skip it. But I will say, apparently, there is a scene in a Sept involving Alicent and another character that many people who have talked about this episode say is the worst part of the episode, maybe one of the worst scenes in House of the Dragon. So, Voice of Old Town, very trusted guy, YouTuber, he's on Twitter, he got the first 4 episodes. Apparently he just emailed, said, I probably could have done that if I'd emailed. But he got the first 4 episodes and he said, Episode 3 is a fantastic episode, but it has one scene that just is like, what? He compared it to, what was it? Episode 6 of season 4 of Game of Thrones, The Lords of Gods and Men. So you have that ending speech with Tyrion, right? The amazing speech at his trial where he's like, you know, giving it his all, and it's filled with amazing scenes, and it's a great episode. Some people consider it the best episode of Game of Thrones, full stop. But there's one scene where Asher sneaks into the Dreadfort and tries to rescue Reek, but then he doesn't come with Asher. He doesn't come with Asher, and then Ramsay comes out shirtless and then has a big shirtless fight, and the Ironborn are chased away, and then they flee on her. And it's considered like arguably the worst scene of season 4, where everyone was like, "What the fuck? Why did you set up a big rescue attempt last season, and then you made it this really weird rushed thing where Ramsay fights shirtless, and then it was just a baffling scene." And apparently this episode is similar, where it's just a really good episode with one actively bad scene that, you know, yeah. But that's the opinion of other people. That might not be my opinion. I'll have to judge it on its own terms. Excuse me, I have some more water. We shall have to see. Moving on to the next slide. Okay, I guess I forgot to change the title. I forgot to give this a new caption, because this one just says Grand Sept, and it's Aegon looking in a mirror. Before we talk about this, what do people have to say in the chat? Bum. When is Alicent not stressed? Yeah. Okay, let's have a look. Bum. Oh yeah. When I was talking about female characters, someone in the chat brought up Helena, saying she doesn't push for peace or really exercise any political thought at all. Yeah, Helena's kind of in her own zone there. Why are you ignoring Lady Alice? I did mention Alice Rivers. I'm excited for Alice Rivers. The show is whitewashing Rhaenyra a bit, someone says. I'm not a big fan of the term whitewashing. Like, people just whitewash, blackwash. They overuse it so much for different characters. Like, for me, I'm like, well, let Rhaenyra cook, right? Let the story unfold. I want her to become more ruthless as the story goes on. I don't want it to be sudden, because then it's not an interesting arc, but, you know. Alicent and Rhaenyra will grow more villainous as the show goes on. That's what I want. That's exactly what I want. Corlys does not push for violence. This take is weird. Yeah, I guess Corlys doesn't. Name another male character, though, in season 1, and even this season, that isn't pushing for violence. Corlys didn't. But pretty much every single other one is like the person pushing for violence, the person kind of making dumb mistakes, etc., etc. But yeah, I'm glad you think the take is weird. That's cool. That means I've got a cool audience with different opinions. That's what I want. Aegon's such a good character this season. He is fantastic. I'm so glad with what we got. I was very disappointed in Aegon in season 1. I talked about it in my worst episode of Hot D video, one of my first videos. I talked about that. I didn't like, love the actor, didn't like what they were doing with his character. I much prefer this. The 100 cats in the castle, yeah. So in the book, after the 100 rat catchers are hanged by Aegon, and this is before Otto is fired. He brings in 100 cats to Otto brings in 100 cats in the Red Keep to take care of the rats, and we see in the Game of Thrones books that the Red Keep is full of like wild cats rolling around that are descended from those earlier cats. So that's some weird world building, honestly. Thank you for the super chat from Vandalman8, who says, oh, for fuck's sake, have there been any milk-related hijinks in Hot D? There actually have. You're saying that as a joke because for some reason milk has become a running joke on this channel. Lysa milk, Vale milk. But you're saying that as a joke, but like, actually, yes, there was that scene in the brothel where Aemond is cozying up to the brothel madam, and then a woman with dwarfism walks in and pours a drink for him, and it looks like a steaming glass of milk. It could be milk of the poppy, but I feel like like, that was a big glass of milk of the poppy. That would just make you sleep. That would just knock you out. You know, that looked like a bit too much. It could be milk of the poppy, but I think they were going for a weird kind of, you know, regressive mummy fetish thing with the milk. You see that a lot with villains, right? Badass villains drinking milk. It's become a bit of a trope. Hans Landa in Inglourious Bastards, Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men, Homelander and The Boys. It's kind of become a bit of a weird trope. I wonder where it started, actually. Okay, so while I'm continuing to look through the chat, yeah, we have Aegon looking into a mirror. This is him in his armor. So is this him deciding to go to Rook's Rest with Aemond and Vhagar while he's riding Sunfire? Is this them? I wonder, are they going to do the whole thing from the book where it's a deliberate trap, where they're waiting in the wings, pun intended, so that when someone comes with a dragon, they can pounce on them? Or are they planning to just ride with the army, and will it be less of a trap and more of a kind of direct confrontation? I hope it's a trap. And it'll be interesting to see whether Aegon puts himself forward, or whether everyone pressures him, like, oh, well, Aegon, you've got to ride into battle because you're the king, and he's like, oh shit, yeah. I'd prefer it if he volunteered himself, because that's something that's quite fun about Fire and Blood, is that, you know, Rhaenyra she's kind of a badass, but like, she refuses to ride into battle because she's scared about being killed, whereas Aegon, who is this pouty, spoiled brat, is like, no, you know, I've got to be brave, I've got to ride into battle. And we have all those lines in the first two episodes, people talking about, Aegon, you're weak, people think you're weak, and he's like, I don't want to be a weak king. And to this, him being like, yeah, I'm not weak, I'm going to ride into battle. And of course, him actually being brave and valorant and courageous leads to him being severely burned. But yeah, this could be him just kind of reflecting on what he's about to do. Imagine we get a Daeron reveal when he's been made Crispin's bastard. I am super, super, super opposed to the rumour that Daeron is going to be Crispin's bastard. That's very stupid. Variety of reasons. One, Ryan Condal said that the Alicent Criston Cole relationship happened very recently, so he's kind of implying that after Viserys died, they hooked up as, you know, Alicent's way of grieving, I guess, and probably Criston Cole, because he's, you know, that's the latest parasitic relationship with a woman he's latched onto, as male vulnerable narcissists tend to do. So timing-wise, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't really make sense for a character like her being a bit of a hypocrite after Viserys' death, and like dealing with her grief and trauma that way is interesting to me. But the idea that she's rambling at Viserys about, like, Rhaenyra's having bastards and she's trotting them out everywhere and showcasing them and blah blah, all the while knowing she has a bastard with Criston in Old Town is really like if it feels like a retcon. That doesn't feel planned. That will feel like a retcon. I don't like that. Also, it means that he won't be able to ride a dragon. And if we're being honest, Daeron without a dragon is a kind of a nothing character. Like, if he doesn't have I would rather he didn't exist than he existed and was a bastard without a dragon, because it's like, what is the point in his character? Yeah, it's cool to have a member of Team Green who is noble and comely and chivalrous, and someone raised with it, not within the Viper's Nest of King's Landing, but within the Reach. Like, nobility and honour and chivalry. He's different from the other Greens. He's well adjusted. That's cool. But also what's cool is him riding a dragon and being able to affect the course of the war, and even at a certain point being seen as a potential future king. Him being like a dark-haired bastard who can't ride a dragon, it's like, why are you here? This is not the character we want. And that rumour comes from a leak that also says there are tensions between Ryan Condal and Sarah Hess, because Ryan Condal wants to whitewash Daemon and Sarah Hess doesn't. It's like, I don't buy any of that. Ryan Condal wrote the episode where Daemon strangles Rhaenyra. He's the one who came up with the idea of having Daemon kill his wife with a rock. Like, no, they are not. I'm sure they have disagreements, but like, I don't. That kind of delegitimized the leak for me. It's like, no, that doesn't sound right at all. Excuse me. Okay, so Rhaenyra, anxious Rhaenyra. So this is the shot we've got in almost every single trailer of her, like, kind of like fiddling with her fingers, maybe picking her nails. We know in a book that she often fiddles with her ring, and we've seen her do that in the show as well. So what is this conversation about? What is this? Daemon taking Harrenhal? Is this Daemon's fate not being known? Is this her learning that the Greens are marching onto the Crown Lands and she has to make a decision? Like, are we, because Baela's scouting King's Landing, so Baela's going to return and be like, they're on the march. So this Rhaenyra are going to be like, should I go? Should I send someone? What should we do? Etc. etc. What will Daeron be like in season 2? We won't see Daeron in season 2. He will appear again. The alleged leak says he's appearing in season 2. I don't believe it. I think he's coming in season 3. Apparently, he hasn't been cast yet. I shouldn't have mentioned the word milk. The chat's going crazy. God damn it! You people need to calm down. Thank you for another super chat from Vanderman8, who says, I may actually watch this show now. Also, I am the guy who started the milk memes. God save me. Yes, you're the guy who asked me if I woke up in the Vale and there was a glass of milk, would I drink it? And I said yes. And I went on a weird ADHD tangent about how I really enjoy milk. Like, I find it refreshing. And then I slowly realised the joke was about Lysa. And I was like, oh, for God's sake. Yeah, thank you for starting the milk meme. And also, surely dwarf milk is half and half. Shut the fuck up. Also, why aren't you watching Hot D? Why are you watching a Hot D episode 3 prediction stream if you don't watch the show? God damn. My fan base is something else. Anyway, taking Harrenhal. Holy shit, we got 350 viewers. This is the most concurrent viewers I've ever had, and I'm talking about milk. You won't get this on Alt-Shift-X. Alt-Shift-X, you'll have in the books, blah, blah, blah. Over here, I'm like, shut the fuck up about milk. Stop talking about milk. Anyway, taking Harrenhal. Has the screen even changed? God, Boomer Haven. God damn it. What is it with Canva? There we go. We have more shots of Daemon taking Harrenhal. We have these... And here I can talk more about what I wanted to talk about earlier. So Daemon's in armor. He's drenched in rain. We have this one shot of him coming down the stairs. It looks beautiful. And another shot of him punching an armored guard, which I don't understand, because surely if he's in Harrenhal, this is after the gates have been opened. He has landed on Craxes. The strong garrison have opened the gates and are like, holy shit, don't burn us. Why would he walk in and fucking punch someone? Unless he's just furious, unless this is him getting his rage out. His rage left over from episode 2. That's how he acts. He acts with violence. So I talked before about him taking over Harrenhal as like a one-man army is kind of weird. We'll see how it's justified. But because I don't think there are any more Harrenhal shots in the trailer, this is where we can talk more about the psychedelia of this season. So apparently this season is going to be exploring Daemon's psyche, because he'd been sent off to Harrenhal. And what's Daemon going to do this season? There aren't many characters to interact with. There's Alice Rivers, who's awesome. There's Sir Simon Strong, who has the chance to be incredible because he's played by Simon Russell Beale, potentially the greatest English theatre actor who's currently living. That's based on other people's opinions. I haven't seen any of his work outside of Beria in The Death of Stalin. That's right, Beria from The Death of Stalin. Amazing character, amazing performance. Is going to be Larys's great uncle in this show, Sir Simon Strong. So yeah, he's got 2 really cool, charismatic characters and actors to bounce off of, right? But is he going to do that all season? Just in a castle talking to 2 people? He needs more to do. And so what he's going to be... Well, apparently what's going to happen is, Ryan Condal said, his psyche is going to be explored. They're really going to focus on the idea that Harrenhal is this cursed, borderline supernatural place. So I'm thinking he's going to hear stuff. He's going to see stuff. He's going to have visions. He's going to have dreams, maybe dragon dreams or prophetic dreams, I don't know. And it could be ambiguous, like, is he losing his mind from the stress and madness of being a Targaryen in this position? Is it genuinely something supernatural about this accursed castle with blood mixed into the mortar? Is it more likely Alice Rivers spiking his drink with mushrooms, right? Because Alice Rivers, the strong bastard in the castle, way older than she looks. She takes potions to look younger, supposedly. She's a witch, supposedly. The idea that she's like spiking his drink and like fucking with him and screwing with his head, and he's going to have all these weird visions that link to his insecurities and his fears and desires, looking at the Iron Throne, his brother, Rhaenyra, really exploring his psyche. That could be so much fun, and I can't wait to see that, if that is true. And like I said, Voice of Old Town on Twitter said that the Harrenhal stuff is some of the best stuff he saw, so that's probably episode 3 and 4. Super, super excited for that. Next up, eggs. What can I say? We talked earlier about how Rhaena is going to be sent to the Vale with Joffrey and Tyrexes, like in a book. And like in a book, she's going to be sent with a batch of incubating eggs, and they're in like a special little, presumably like insulated hot box. They're hotboxing right now. Look at that steam coming off. To keep them nice and warm so that they can hatch in the future. And we know one of them does hatch at the end of the dance, a dragon called Morning. Although they might, if they are merging Rhaena and Nettles, then Morning hatching doesn't really make sense. But who knows what they're going to do. There's no way of knowing. You can't trust all the leaks. You can't trust them. The person saying, yo, WTF, spoiler much. This is a spoiler live stream. Like, it's in the title. I said it at the start of the stream. I tried to say it throughout the stream. This is spoilers. This is book spoilers. This is book spoilers. And trailer stuff, that's what it is. I tend to avoid the leaks mostly. Occasionally I'll say some leak stuff. But yeah, there's no point doing predictions and pretending I don't know what's going to happen based on the books, because I've read the book, right? However, if you want to hear me and Quinn, the GM, talk about each episode, do episode breakdowns on Mondays, they are non-spoilery. This is spoilery, they're non-spoilery. We break down the episode, give our thoughts, and we don't spoil anything in the future. So that's every Monday on my channel or Quinn's channel. We alternate, so yeah. Like I said, the title says spoilers, so have I said the word spoilers enough? I said like 1,500 times. All right, next up. Has the screen moved on? Yes, okay. Black Council. So here we have a nice shot of the council. This looks like the same scene where Rhaenyra's fidgeting with her. Do you like that finger ASMR right there? Yeah, maybe not. Fidgeting with her fingers nervously. On the left, we have, like I said earlier in the stream, how much I love that they're really showcasing these side characters. Whoopsie, these side characters. We have that bald motherfucker in the back on the left. That is Lord Bartimos Celtigar, who goes on to become Rhaenyra's Master of Coin after she takes King's Landing. Next to him is Maester Gerardis, her Maester. And next to him is the Kingsguard. Interestingly, the two remaining Queensguard rather, the two remaining Queensguard members she has attend her council meetings. Why not, I guess? So the bald guy on the left, that's Sir Lawrence Marbrand. The guy on the right, whose hair looks just like Mac in Always Sunny, whenever he's at a restaurant and he gels his hair down, and Dennis is like, your hair looks small. That's Stefan Darklin. He's the Lord Commander. With Sir Eric dead, she only has 2 Queensguard, so are we going to have her get more? In the same way Aegon's probably going to get more? Because she can't just have 2, right? She needs more. Anyway, then next to Stefan Darklin on the right, we have Lord Simon Staunton, who of course is the Lord of Rook's Rest, so we know what happens with Rook's Rest is that he goes back to that castle, and it ends up being taken, and he ends up being executed. Next to him is Sir Alfred Broom. I really like how they're showcasing him, because he's an important character. He's going to go on to, not super important to the point where they could have cut them if they wanted, but he's important in the sense that he does end up betraying Rhaenyra. And then next to him, it looks like there is someone next to him. I'm not sure who that is. But then next to the person hiding behind Sir Alfred Broom is Rhaenys, Princess Rhaenys, who's sitting there looking quite grim. I don't know where Corlys is. Corlys should be at this council. Maybe he's next to Simon. Next to Bartimos Celtigar. What a badass fucking name too. Bartimos Celtigar, you kidding me? Stop the milk emojis, god damn it. Only 80 likes, smash. See, this is why I need a mod. All those professional Song of Ice and Fire channels, they got moderators who write in the chat, they're like, don't forget to subscribe, smash the like button. I guess I've got to be my own mod. Everyone smash the like button to help it spread, I guess. That's lots of fun. Let's do it. Okay, next up we have a cool shot of Baelor on Moondancer. So in the last episode, Rhaenyra sent Baelor out to scout. So clearly what's going to happen is she's going to see the army marching through the Crown Lands, and she's going to report back to Rhaenyra. Yeah, so I don't know if she'll be involved in Rook's Rest, because we saw some shots in the trailer that implied she would be, but maybe she's just going to watch the army marching. She'll fly back, and then Rhaenys will go out by herself. So, Angry Boy. Next up we have this shot, which has been in quite a few trailers actually, of Aegon slamming the dagger onto the table. So, I talked before about how he's kind of fiddling with this dagger, a bit like that famous Amok art piece, right, of Aegon II in armour holding a dagger. So here he's wielding it, and then he angrily slams it down, so maybe someone said something he disagrees with. You know, he stacked his allies on the council, but there's still Ironrod and Grand Maester Orwyle and Tyler Lannister, who are like the old guard. I was saying it's like Soviet politics. You have Otto's old guard on the council, and then you have like the new guard with Aegon and his young buddies, young violent buddies. But maybe he's obsessing over this Valyrian steel dagger because, well, I said this before, because it sort of represents his legitimacy, where my father owned this dagger. It was presumably passed down from Aegon the Conqueror, right? And now I have it, and that means I'm the king. More so than Blackfire, the Sword of the Crown, because it's more personal to him. This belonged to his father Viserys. And then last episode, Otto was like, yeah, no, obviously Viserys did not name you as the heir while high on drugs, while dying. And if he did, like, it's not relevant, right? Like, he did not choose you. So Aegon could be like, feeling quite insecure, he might be branding this dagger as, this is my father's dagger, I am my father's heir, I don't care what Otto says, I am the rightful king. So it might be like kind of overcompensating. Next up we have, we have the shot from those stills where we have Rhaenys and Corlys somewhere, scaffolding, under a ship, in a barn. I still don't know. They're giving each other lovey-dovey faces, but I still don't know where they are. And here we have Aegon doing a little sippy. So again, he's in that cheeky armour. This has to be before he decides to ride out in Rook's Rest. I do wonder whether, like, is Rook's Rest just going to be a 100% battle episode? Is it going to be this episode is setting it up, then episode 4 is like the battle itself? I'm not sure, but there he is in his armour, sipping on his cup. Because, of course, he's a full-blown alcoholic before he becomes king and his son dies. So he's going to be drinking up a storm in the show as well, presumably, because that's what happens in the book. And we've already seen him do some drinking. So there's a shot in the trailer of Baelor chasing after a bunch of horses, and we see Criston desperately riding his horse. And here we have two of the horses in the forest. So I've kind of joked before about, like, oh yeah, they're riding to the one place that's safe from dragonfire, the woods, into a forest. But I guess if you have a tiny dragon like... excuse me a second. If you have a tiny dragon like Moondancer, and then Baelor's chasing after these knights on horseback, and then they ride into the forest, and it's like you can't see them. It's a big forest. Where have they gone? You don't want to fly into the woods because you're just going to smash into the trees and crash. You could just Dracarys everywhere, but then you just start a giant forest fire, and like, do you want to do that? I don't know. But these two knights, obviously the one on the right I think is Criston, because you can just about see some dark hair, and that links in with the shot of Criston with the fuck my shit up haircut riding through the woods. But who's the guy on the left? Excuse me, I knocked my desk. Who's the guy on the left? He has long hair. And he doesn't have a helmet. And if a character doesn't have a helmet, it means they're a main character. So I'm guessing the guy on the left with long hair without a helmet, who's riding next to Criston Cole, I bet that's Gwaine Hightower. I bet next episode we're going to meet Gwaine Hightower, who Ryan Condor had described as kind of like a pompous, rich asshole who's going to clash with Criston, because Criston's the experienced Stormlands knight, who is of common origin and has risen up through, well, I was going to say like tenacity and grit, but actually through blind luck, and his hirers being incompetent, I guess. But he's risen up nonetheless, whereas Gwaine is like a spoiled, rich Hightower brat who's a green boy. He's a knight of summer, and they're going to have a kind of, a rivalry, which is quite a fun idea. But yeah, I reckon I'm going to guess that's Gwaine Hightower. We have seen one shot of him with a helmet on, but we don't know what hair he's going to be having in the season. We haven't seen a picture of him with a... yeah. That guy who was screaming "stop spoil," I think he's a troll at this point because he keeps going "stop spoiling." I think he's like, behave yourself. Next up we just have a shot of Rhaenyra going grrr. She's looking serious. Again, probably links to one of the... There seem to be at least two council scenes, one where she's sitting down fidgeting, the other one where she's standing up. So again, talking about Daemon taking Harrenhal, talking about Daemon disappearing, talking about the army, Kristen's army being on the march, being on the move. We'll have to see. This next shot is Daemon in Harrenhal, and we actually see a slightly longer... So this is him from behind. He's opening up Harrenhal doors. In the Weeks Ahead trailer, this shot lasted slightly longer, and you saw a round table in there. And we've seen other pics and stuff of that round table where he's going to sit down and start having some dinner or something with some members of House Strong. In particular, Sir Simon Strong, the Castellan and the great uncle of Lara Strong, who I talked about before. So yeah, this is him basically being like, "Oh, hi guys, I landed with my dragon, and your garrison went flying, and I punched one in the face, and I've walked right in here, and yeah, you're going to surrender the castle to me and host an army here." Again, doesn't look like Daemon's arriving with an army, but he's like, "Do what I say, or the dragon will burn you all." And I do hope we get at least one line where they're like, "We could just kill you now," and he's like, "Yeah, you could kill me now, and my dragon Craxies will go wild and will burn this entire place down." And I'll be like, "Fuck, let's not risk it. Let's not risk it." So yeah, we'll be seeing Daemon in Harrenhal. Hopefully we can get the start of his psychedelic trips. We'll see Simon Strong. Alice Rivers, episode 3. Don't know when she's appearing. I hope it's episode 3. I want to meet Simon and Alice, the new crew. I want to see it. Yeah. Oh, and then here we have the final shot. We have Baelor strikes. One more shot, and then I'll see what people have to say in the chat. And again, if you want to send in any more super chats, any questions or anything, I'd appreciate it a lot, or any Streamlabs donations. I'll be reading out the Streamlabs donations at the very end of the video. If you want to send them in, the link's in the description for those who aren't here. It's what AllShiftX does. The link's in the description. It's for if you want to send in a donation without YouTube taking a giant cut of it, right? Because that can kind of be annoying. Just send your money to someone and be like, "I don't want to give it to YouTube, I'm giving it to you," you know? So yeah, the final bit of the trailer is Baelor striking. We have her on her dragon, her pale green dragon, Moondancer. Look at it, it's a little teenage dragon. It's a cute little teenage dragon. And then Moondancer is flying down. I'm distracted because my chat, I'm scrolled up on the chat. I'm going to scroll through in a bit, but I see Quinn saying, "Did you see the news?" I do not trust Quinn saying, "Did you see the news?" You're making me paranoid now. I'll scroll down in a sec, see what he's talking about. I'm sure he's trolling. Anyway, so yeah, this will be, like I said before, Baelor seeing Kristen and some other knights. I'm not sure what the setup is here. Like, why they're like 4 or 5 knights really far away from a forest in an open field, like staring at Baelor. Like, I'm guessing like she is scouting, she's seeing them, and she's like, "I can use this opportunity to take them out." Again, if she's that high up, does she know who those random men on horseback are? Or can she see that, like, one has a white cloak, and, you know, they probably know by now Kristen is hand, so it could be, "Oh, a Kingsguard with a white cloak, and we know Kristen was recently hand, that could be him, let's take him out," or whatever. And of course, all these shots of Baelor swooping and flying and even screaming, everyone was like, "Oh, this is Baelor and Rook's Rest." But if it's all happening at this episode, this makes me think she won't be at Rook's Rest. She will fly back, and then Rook's Rest will solely be Aegon, Aemond, and Rhaenys. Yeah. But we'll have to see. So, the final slide. Sorry, this is a Faith of the Seven server, so no Dragon Erotica. Has that slide moved on? The final slide? Come on. Come on, Canva. Stop making me look like a boomer. Just move the slide along. I'm clicking on the slide. It's not even that good of a meme. I've already used it at the end of all my... Screw it, forget it. I don't care anymore. Okay. Whoops. Before we wrap up the live stream, because the episode is coming out in just over an hour, let's see what the chat has to say. Yeah, Quinn, did you see the news? I don't know what you go on to say. I do not trust you, Quinn. Celtic mentioned chat crab emojis. Oh, I'm really far back. Oh, JQ just dropped an article about tonight's episode. It's got something big. Okay. Do I want this? Do I want to be spoiled? Let me look it up live. You're getting live Haven reaction. Just could put my face in the bottom corner. I don't trust this. I feel like I'm being trolled by Quinn. You can tell I'm far back in the chat. Like, I'm all the way back to people spamming crab emojis because I said the word Celtic. Why did I say JQ? I meant GQ. I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing anything. An article about tonight's episode. What am I missing? What am I missing here? Oh. Ah, okay. Okay, well, that's cool. I'm not going to read that out because that's quite a cool thing that happens, and I kind of wish I hadn't read that because I would have liked to have experienced that in the episode, so that's a bit of a shame. I'm not going to read out to people because I think I want people to experience that too. Yeah. Yeah, and I won't be watching this tonight, by the way. I'm going to watch this tomorrow. I would love to stay up because it's an hour away and it's at 2 a.m. for me. The lateness isn't the issue. It's the fact that... I've already rambled about this. It's the fact that it's fucking Now TV, because I don't have Sky, and Now TV, the maximum it goes to is 1080p, which sucks. But because it's... Sky, despite being a premium subscription service, has 2 fucking ads in every episode. Right? So you watch it and then there's like a 3 to 5 minute ad break twice. So when I watched the premiere, I was like, you are distracting the fuck out of me. This is really annoying me. I was like super pissed off. So from where, but if you don't watch it live, if you watch it after it's come out, then there are no ads, right? And I don't want to wait till 3 a.m. to watch it, so I decided it's better to just go to sleep and watch it the next day by ordering a nice takeaway from Nando's, watching the episode with Nando's. But yeah, it's annoying because like HBO Max wants to come to the UK. Like they want to have that. We don't have Max. We don't have HBO Max. They want to come to the UK. And hey, I would like a 4K streaming service, without adverts. But Sky have some weird legal stuff where like they're allowed to show HBO shows in the UK, and they're not allowed, and they're blocking HBO Max. But it's annoying because Sky TV is like a satellite thing. You have to install a satellite to have Now TV, right? And I don't want to have Sky. I don't want Sky. Now TV streams Sky for you, but it doesn't go up to 4K. It goes up to 1080p. So 1080, no one you don't care. I don't know why I'm acting like anyone cares. This is not even the first time I've rambled about Now TV. That's enough. But anyway, I'll be watching it tomorrow. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I shouldn't mention that I'm from the UK. That's not true. I'm from Guantanamo Bay. I need to maintain the bit. Anyway, before we wrap up and everyone gets ready, get your food ready, get your friends ready, get your family ready, enjoy some House of the Dragon. Any more super chats? No more super chats. Any donations? Not today. That's perfectly fine. Okay. I think we should wrap up the live stream, even though I don't want to. I want to keep. I want to keep going. Oh, I do want to stay up. I do want to stay up, but no, it's not. It's genuinely not worth it. It's not worth it. Having two fat old fucking adverts slam their way, just force their way into the episode, completely ruins the flow. Like, the premiere was good, but it was absolutely worsened by having just two big adverts. I am going to watch it tomorrow. I'm going to watch it tomorrow with lunch and a cheeky Nando's. I'm talking sunset burger, seasoned chips, and some garlic bread. I still have 350 people watching, and I'm rambling about what takeaway I'm going to eat with House of Dragon. Yeah, I can't lie. I am annoyed that I now know that twist for tonight. That's the kind of twist. Somehow I avoided that, and I'm kind of annoyed that I know that now. That sucks. I'm baffled that GQ did a fucking article about it. Like, who gave GQ a permission to post an article before the episode talking about a major twist in the episode? That's so strange. People are going, stay up. Can't you watch it on another device? I can't watch it. No, the only way you can watch HBO shows in the UK are via Sky, and you need to install a satellite, or Now TV, which streams Sky, but it goes up to 1080p maximum, and it shoves ads in everything because it's Sky anyway. So, like, the best case scenario would be 4K HBO Max coming to the UK, but it keeps being blocked. Again, why do I keep saying this? None of you... You put that this was a spoiler video. No, you're right. I did put it as a spoiler. I guess it's more like... More spoilers, like book spoilers and stuff I can glean from next time trailers and stills based on what I know of the books, and maybe a couple of leaks. This was something that I hadn't learned about yet. But yeah, if I have spoilers in the title, then it's perfectly fine for people in the chat to bring up spoilers for the future, right? That's what the live stream is. I'm not having a go at anyone. None of you have done anything wrong by mentioning it. Okay, I've still got over 300. Why are people still watching? Goodbye. Go and watch House of the Dragon. Yeah, like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Every Monday, Quinn the GM and I, alternating channels, we do a non-spoilery breakdown of each episode with a spoiler section at the very end. Every Tuesday, I do a voice chat watch-along with my patrons of the episode. So we hop on voice chat, we watch the episode together, for like the fifth time, whatever, the second time, however many times people have already watched it. It's not a first-time watch. We watch it, and we do some banter. And then afterwards, we play A Song of Ice and Fire Jeopardy, which is quite fun. And then on Wednesdays, I do Patreon-exclusive live streams where I usually break down the next time trailer and ramble about other stuff. See, I'm structured, Lord Haven, now. I've got a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday events that are going on. I never did this before. And of course, every week, what else should I show? Every week I do a quickie review of the episode, and we had the real Viserys video, we had the real Blood and Cheese video. Next up, we're going to have House Bracken versus House Blackwood, an animated history, coming out this week. And if you want to join the Patreon for Discord access at any tier, go ahead. There's also art commissions, art cameos in my videos, name in the description, name at the end of the video, wallpapers, live streams, exclusive videos like History of House Dane, blah blah blah. Anything else I can shill? What else can I shill? Still over 300 viewers, why not? Merchandise, fantasyhavenmerch.com. Check the description for all these links. I've got merch. If you want like a Fantasy Haven sigil on a mug, or the Fantasy Haven logo on a mug, or Late Lord Haven on a mug, I've got some mugs, I've got some t-shirts. I actually have a Late Lord Haven t-shirt at home. It's quite cute. It's kind of silly, but you know. The mugs are unironically good. The t-shirts are kind of memes, but the mugs are actually quite good. And what else? I got a beanie. I want to do a Fantasy Haven like cap, you know, because it's summer. I don't push my merch. I push my Patreon more. That I keep forgetting I have merchandise. Anyway. I need to find a way to get back on ADHD meds because my brain is going all over the place. Enjoy House of the Dragon. Love you all. And enjoy my quickie later this week. See ya.